I caught my neighbor rubbing lotion all over my wife's pregnant belly. Now she's wailing because I'm asking for paternity. This literally happened this morning. I'm posting it here and hoping to vent and maybe get some perspective because I've been extremely upset all day and can't process this productively. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our child. We live next to another married couple who are in their late 30s. I don't like the guy. I've found him to be invasive and the weird type of friendly that almost seems to be prying and clingy. I'm not sure if that's clouding my judgment here or if this validated my beliefs about him. I left for work, decided on the way there I just wasn't feeling it, and called off. I stopped for breakfast before heading home to surprise my wife. 40 minutes tops. I get home, enter from the back door, and here's my wife and my neighbor sitting in our living room on the couch. She's turned toward him, fully clothed but with her shirt pulled up over her very pregnant stomach while he, facing her, is rubbing lotion on her stomach with both hands. They both froze before my wife asked how come I was back and then said Randy stopped by to borrow the toolbox while I was moisturizing, and wanted to know if he could feel the baby, so I said okay. I told him to get out before I put him out, and he left immediately. I tried to stay calm and talk to her and get the whole story. The neighbor's wife is apparently infertile. First I heard of it, which is amazing considering the guy never shuts up about his personal woes, and he wanted to feel the baby. That's her story and she's sticking to it. That's not good enough for me. My thought process is there's a big effing difference between feeling a baby for 10 seconds and coming into our home and rubbing lotion on my wife's stomach. If it was some close friend of ours I might understand, but I dislike the guy and my wife has never expressed any sort of closeness to him aside from passing pleasantries, and she's not the type to let anyone she isn't close to put their hands on her. So in the span on a day the guy goes from being a distant acquaintance of hers at best to her deciding to invite him in and let him rub her. I also find it convenient that he showed up that early, right after I went to work, very shortly after his own wife also left for work, and he's never coming over asking to borrow anything of mine before, yet 9:30ish in the morning and he urgently needs a toolbox? I don't believe my wife. This is the first time my trust in her hasn't been strong enough. I don't believe her story because it makes no sense. When I told her I'd be mentioning this to his wife, she was adamant I don't, as not to make more of it than it is. If it was innocent, what more is there to make? And even if nothing more is going on, I'm not okay with what I've seen. I'm not okay with him rubbing my unborn child in my home without me there. I know it's her body and her choice, but I'm not okay with this. It'd be one thing to feel the baby kick, but he was sitting reclined, comfortably on our sofa, rubbing lotion on her with both leaning into their private conversation. I'm trying really hard to figure out how to express the fact I don't believe her story without causing stress that it'd be dangerous for her or our baby. I don't want to pick a fight with her at this stage of her pregnancy, but at the same time my mind is spinning and I'm not cool with what happened. First update, I spoke to friends, and stewed for a day. My wife stuck to her story, apologized for making me uncomfortable and assured me it wouldn't happen again. Randy decided to leave a handwritten note in the mailbox specifically apologizing as well. I still didn't feel better, and the consensus was that I should speak to my neighbor's wife, who were going to call Sally, so that's what I did. Watched my neighbor leave for work, then called my mother-in-law to come take my wife for lunch and a girls' date so she could get out of the house. I left as usual for work, called off again, and went to stay with a friend. Got a text from my wife around noon telling me she was with mother-in-law and would be back by dinner. Went home and knocked on Sally's door. Randy decided to tell Sally I kicked him out and caused a scene about not wanting either of them speaking to us anymore because I was pissed about him helping my wife. Come to find out both Sally and Randy have been going over to my house while I was away busy for the past few weeks as my wife had approached her and asked if they would be willing to lend a hand with chores she could no longer do alone. Sometimes Sally went over and did small tasks or just hung out. Sometimes both, sometimes just Randy. My wife told her I knew and was fine with it, and that's why she was confused when her husband told her his bullshit about me being mad. She showed me where she texted my wife, has her number, not mine, to clarify and ask if she was welcome over and my wife hasn't replied, and since I don't often see Sally or socialize with them she just assumed her husband was telling the truth. She also admitted that she noticed Randy and my wife becoming fast friends and figured it was due to the pregnancy, but thought it was his way of dealing with their own inability to have kids so she wrote it off. I told her what I walked in on. I told her about the tools, which ended up being bullshit too. Came to the same conclusions. Both cried. Both hugged for the first time. Both took turns denying and accepting and talking each other down. Took a walk around the block together and conspired. She planned to call Randy at work and say that my wife messaged her confessing to the two of them having an affair, and seeing what happened. Went back to my friends. Started having major panic attacks thinking I effed up. I was about to ruin my marriage, worrying I might be wrong. Bit later and I get a call from my wife screaming at me to find a way to leave work and come home. So I go home. Randy called her telling her what Sally told him. She told me I was crazy, I was a piece of poop, that she was considering leaving me, everything. Having a panic attack thinking I just ruined my entire life over nothing while also trying to calm her down for the baby's sake. Impulsively told her that if she was leaving, I'd still be requesting a DNA test. And that's when it all came down. Entire tone changed. Pleading, begging, apologizing, hyperventilating, holding me, asking me how I found out while denying anything happened. I told her it'd be okay and asked if she'd talk to me if we went for a drive. She agreed. Took us to a parking lot and we talked. Told her if there was any chance of anything happening she needed to tell me what was happening because I already knew a lot. She'd effed Randy a handful of times before she was pregnant. Our baby might not be ours. Randy had been coming by and doing daddy duties once in a blue moon in case it's his. They haven't slept together in months. She said we could move away, that it's ours no matter what, that he had manipulated her. Admittedly she lied to Sally to justify Randy going over for daddy duties. I asked her if she'd stay with mother-in-law for a few days while I calmed down. She agreed, took her home, packed up some stuff, and dropped her off. I've cleaned out my essentials and I'm in a friend's basement. A friend called her on my behalf and told her that if the baby is mine I'll be dealing with it. If it isn't it's on her, but either way I'll be filing for divorce. My friends took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends told her to F off. I spoke to my boss and he's been very understanding. Last I heard from Sally, Randy hadn't been home and stopped responding to her calls and texts. I have nothing left. In less than a week my life has fallen apart. The only thing keeping me here is the small chance that baby is mine. I have nothing else. I woke up today disappointed I woke up at all. I've never felt this alone, and I haven't accepted any of it yet. I'm praying for the first time in my life that I can stop feeling this way and find strength. Final update. A week after my last update my soon-to-be ex-wife had our child, which I was at the hospital for. I'm the father. The first few weeks after my last update were extremely difficult, with family/friends on both sides adding to the drama. Thankfully, I've had an overwhelming amount of support from not only from the vast majority of people I know in my personal life but from all of you as well. My wife and I agreed to sit down and discuss things after she was discharged, in my friend's basement with my friend upstairs in case I needed the support. She came over, and we basically said everything we needed to say. I exploded and said a lot of mean poop, most of which I regret, some I don't. She spent the whole time apologizing and begging me to take her back and give our family a chance to survive everything that happened. Went on for about an hour like this until I accepted that there was nothing left to say and I have zero romantic love for her anymore, and she accepted that we need to focus on our daughter above all else. We're agreeing to figure out a custody split amicably, and to eventually co-parent more actively together when wounds heal. But our marriage is over. She has the potential to be a wonderful mother, but she failed me as a wife, and my sole focus right now is how to get myself mentally to where I need to be the best father possible. We plan to eventually sell the home, but right now I'm staying in an apartment. Sally is leaving Randy. He's apparently staying with his mother, and still refused to speak to Sally directly. According to her, the last thing that was passed along to her is that he understands what he did. He's sorry he hurt her, he loves her and won't contest a divorce. She's struggling to handle everything and lacks a support system, so we're developing a friendship, mostly two wounded people leaning on each other, and I'm doing my best. She plans to start therapy too. And no, I don't plan to be anything more than platonic friends with Sally. Lovely woman, but no, I still haven't fully processed my new role as a parent. I think mentally I already convinced myself my child wouldn't be mine in case it ended up that way. I plan to take classes and spend more time with my daughter doing early bonding. I'm terrified but very happy. I know there's a lot left to do, and a lot of hurting left to go through, but I'm stable, and a dad. That's what matters most.